Once upon a time, in a distant land, there lived a kind and simple old woman. She had two sons. The elder son's name was Budlu, who had gone abroad for business, while the younger son Fazal lived with her and took care of her. One day, by God's will, Fazal fell seriously ill. Despite many treatments, he could not recover and eventually he passed away. The old woman was devastated by grief as there was no one left to take care of her. She wrote a letter to her son Budlu, informing him of her condition and Fazal's death. Before any reply could come from Budlu, one evening a traveler arrived at the old woman's house. He said, "Granny, I have come from a faraway place. I am completely exhausted and it's almost night. If you permit, may I stay at your house tonight?" The old woman replied, "Come, son. What harm is there? It's only a night. It's not like you are going to take my house away. But tell me, where have you come from?" The traveler answered, "I am coming from another world, Granny." Now, the traveler simply meant that he had come from a long journey, but the poor old woman, overwhelmed by her son's death, took his words literally. She often consoled herself by saying that her son had gone to another world. Hearing the traveler say, "Another world?" she stared at him and said with a sigh, "Son, are you really coming from the other world? My son Fazal also went there just last month. Did you ever meet him?" The traveler, who was quite clever, quickly sensed the old woman's simplicity. He replied, "Oh, Fazal, was he your son, Granny? I knew him very well. We shared the same room. He was a very good boy." The old woman sat closer to the traveler and asked with longing eyes, "How is my Fazal? What does he do there?" The traveler replied, "Not very well, Granny. Poor thing has not found a proper job yet. He tends goats for now." The old woman gasped, "Oh no, my son is herding goats? Poor boy must be wandering the meadows even in the afterlife. He did not even find peace there." To deepen the woman's sorrow, the traveler added, "Yes, Granny, poor Fazal roams about with tattered clothes, unkempt hair and a sad face." Tears welled up in the old woman's eyes. She asked the traveler, "When will you go back, son?" The traveler replied, "Granny, I must return the day after tomorrow." The old woman said, "Then do me a favor. I have a roll of 40 yards of cloth and some money. Please give it to Fazal. Take 50 rupees with you too." The traveler spent the night in great comfort and left the next morning. After looting the old woman, a few days later, Budlu, the elder son, returned from abroad. The mother and son embraced and cried, mourning Fazal's death. One day, during a conversation, the old woman told Budlu about the traveler and how he had come from the other world and lived with Fazal. She said, "He told me Fazal is still herding goats and his clothes are torn, so I sent him 50 rupees and some cloth." Budlu was shocked. After traveling and gaining experience, he was no longer naive. He said, "Mother, do you really believe someone can return from the other world? You don't understand the tricks of the world." Budlu was furious at the traveler's cunning and his mother's innocence. He thought to himself, "I won't return home until I find someone even more knave than my mother and recover our loss." So he set off on foot in a straight line and determined to find a bigger fool. After some distance, he reached a village. Outside the village, he saw a landlord's mansion and a well-fed goat tied nearby, along with 3 adorable kids. Budlu sat down near them and started bowing to the goat, saluting it repeatedly. The landlord's wife, watching through the window, was puzzled and asked her maid to find out why this man was bowing to their goat. The maid went and asked, "Hey, good man, what relation is this goat to you that you are bowing to it like this?" Budlu replied, "Madam, I have been searching for her all this time. The one you think is a goat is actually a relative of my wife. Tomorrow is my son's wedding and all relatives have been invited. Only her whereabouts were unknown. I have come to invite her." The maid returned and told the mistress, who laughed heartily at this strange man's foolishness. She said, "This man is hilarious. Let's play along so we can have more fun. She sent word through the maid. If this is truly your wife's relative, we don't object to her attending the wedding, but she may have trouble finding your house. Why don't you take her with you? She then instructed the maid to prepare the goat lady for traveler. Dress her well, it's cold, she said. Let her go in style. Use my cotton shawl. The goat and her kids were decorated. A cart with two horses was brought, and the goat family was seated with great honor. The reins were handed to Budlu. Brother, our coachman is not home today. Please drive the cart yourself, but drive slowly. We don't want any harm to our goat or her children. Budlu took the reins with pride. The goat, like a bride, departed in grandeur, and Budlu drove the cart as if he were carrying a real bride. Watching this bizarre scene, the mistress and the maid laughed until they cried. They could not stop laughing until the cart disappeared from sight. Later that day, the landlord returned. Seeing his wife unusually happy, he asked, "What's going on?" The wife, still giggling, said, "Oh, you missed a treat today." A man came and started saluting our goat like it was his wife's relative. She burst out laughing as she described the incident, and even the maid smiled mischievously. But the landlord, instead of laughing, grew angry. He shouted, "You gave away my best goat and her 3 kids? Are you out of your mind?" The wife stammered, I thought he was just a madman. We were just having some fun." The landlord roared, "Fun? That goat was worth hundreds of rupees. She was my finest breed, and her kids were to be sold in the upcoming fair. You let a complete stranger take them away?" He stormed out of the house with the stick in hand and shouted to his servants, "Find that scoundrel. If I don't get my goat back, I shall make sure someone else pays the price." Meanwhile, Budlu, proud of his trick, had reached his village and tied the goat and her kids in his courtyard. He went inside and happily told his mother, "Mother, your loss has been recovered. I have brought back more than what that fraud took from us." The old woman stepped out, saw the beautiful goat and her 3 kids, and was astonished. "But son, whose are these?" Budlu smiled proudly. "Long story, mother. Just now this. Someone else in this world is even more foolish than you." But just as they were enjoying the sight, a loud commotion erupted outside. Villagers were yelling, and the landlord's man had arrived. Accompanied by the landlord himself, he barked in and shouted, "Thief, how dare you steal my goat?" Budlu tried to explain, "I did not steal it. Your wife gave it to me with her own hands." The landlord screamed, "You tricked her, you scoundrel!" Without further delay, the landlord's man took away the goat and her kids and gave Budlu a sound beating as punishment for his trickery. Budlu sat bruised and defeated, holding his etching back. The old woman looked at her son and said with a smirk, "So tell me again, who's the bigger fool?" Budlu sighed and replied, "Mother, today I learned no matter how big a fool one thinks another is, there's always someone wiser ready to teach a lesson in return." Moral of the story: never underestimate others and never try to deceive people. You might end up being the one fooled. Thanks for listening me.